Hands up if you don't like conflict. Me neither. I don't know about you, but it makes me feel sick in the stomach. However, that's a real problem because we need to have tough conversations sometimes. Thankfully, I figured out a way to do it even when I really don't want to. And today I'm going to teach you how to do it too. So, let's talk. I'm Jeremy Godwin, writer and mental health counsellor, and even though I'm fairly direct, I feel queasy anytime I have to deal with conflict. It's human nature to want to get along with people. After all, back in our cave person days, we probably would have been kicked out into the wilderness if we were too argumentative with everyone. But here's the problem. Conflict is inevitable in life. As human beings, we each have our own unique perspectives, not to mention our own values and beliefs, so we're never going to agree 100% of the time. But the good news is that conflict can actually be healthy for a relationship. It's just a matter of how you go about handling it. So, what are tough conversations? Difficult conversations are those chats we'd rather run a marathon in flip-flops to avoid. They're the heart-to-hearts about sensitive subjects, the confrontations about issues we'd probably rather pretend aren't there. We avoid them because they're uncomfortable, they can lead to conflict, and they might change things. And that leads me to why you need to have tough conversations. And to state the obvious, you need to have them because avoiding the problem won't fix it. Like ignoring a suspicious rattling in your car's engine, avoiding these types of talks can have negative impacts. The problem doesn't just magically go away, it slowly grows louder and more insistent, and you can end up doing a lot more damage in the long term. Nothing changes if nothing changes. If you want to resolve a problem, you have to do the work to resolve the problem. Think of it as short-term pain for long-term gain. So, here are some practical tips for handling tough conversations. Tip 1. Start with why. Be clear with yourself about what the issue is and why it needs to be addressed before you do or say anything. This helps you to figure out how to position things in a thoughtful and intentional way. And when you do have the conversation, knowing the why can help you to remain on track and stay focused on what needs to be resolved. Tip 2. Identify what you want. Before a single word comes out of your mouth, it's helpful to spend a little longer thinking about the issue and considering what it is that you want and need. Be clear on the outcome you're looking for and weave that into the conversation when you do have it. It helps the other person to be clear on the purpose of the conversation. Tip 3. Prepare, prepare, prepare. So, it's tip 3 and I'm still telling you to prepare. What's going on? You may have heard the expression, failing to prepare is preparing to fail, and it's good advice for life in general, and especially for approaching difficult conversations. The key to good communication is preparation, so take the time to outline what you want to say and how you're going to say it. That doesn't mean you need to script it or rehearse it, but having a clear opening statement, along with some key talking points, can really help to guide the conversation and ensure you address what you need to. And if you feel awkward about saying something out loud, practice it a couple of times or more so that it begins to feel more natural. That will help you feel a lot calmer. Tip 4. Get to the point. Okay, so you're finally ready for your tough conversation. Don't beat around the bush or try to protect someone's feelings. You need to say what needs to be said. You can do that in a respectful way, and this is where taking time to prepare really helps. Be firm but fair, direct but kind. Get straight to the point and let the person know what the issue is and why you're addressing it with them. Tip 5. Have an actual discussion. And by that, I mean not to talk at the person. A discussion is a two-way thing. So, invite conversation and create an open dialogue. You do that by asking open questions, which are ones that start with who, when, why, what, where, and how, and focus specifically on how you're feeling and what you need so that it doesn't come across as an accusation. For example, try saying, "When you don't listen to me, I feel disrespected. How can we resolve this?" I actually covered healthy communication back in episode 134 of my podcast, and I'll leave a link to it in the description if you'd like to learn more. Here's the thing. Avoiding conflict won't fix anything, and it won't make someone like you. All it does is result in your needs not being met. If there's an issue that needs to be addressed, address it. You'll feel much better without it hanging over your head, and you'll know where you stand instead of worrying about what may or may not happen. You've got this. If this video was helpful, please give it a like, and you can listen to me share more tips on tough conversations and other topics in the Let's Talk About Mental Health podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts. There's a link to it in the description, or head to ltamh.com. Thanks for joining me today, and talk to you next time. Thank you to my Patreon supporters. Join now for early episode access and ad-free content. You'll find a link to it in the episode description.